season has started. 2020 is underway. We made it. We are here. What's going on, everyone? My name is the Big AC Andy Chevalier, aka 401 Crew on DraftKings. We're here. The season started. I'm pumped. A little background information on myself. About 4 or 5 years ago, I used to do a weekly video called The Fantasy Life with AC. We would go over both season-long fantasy and daily fantasy, focusing on DraftKings. Over the past few years, we kind of put a focus on only the daily fantasy. Stopped doing the videos, doing mostly write-ups for websites or just personally on my own social media outlets. Last year we took a year off, and week one was leading up. I was getting ready for Thursday night football earlier this week, and I was just like, I want to get back into it. Threw it out there on social media, see what people thought, and they were like, AC, we'd love it. That'd be great. We'd love it if you came back. So here we are. We're back, week one, Fantasy Life. For this show, we are going to focus on DraftKings daily fantasy football lineups we're making every single week. New lineups every single week. If someone gets an injury, don't worry about your season-long teams. We're going to start a fresh one each and every week here on DraftKings. A little bit about DraftKings for those who don't know. As you can see, you start 9 positions: a quarterback, 2 running backs, a wide receiver, 3 wide receivers, tight end, flex, and a DST. You are given $50,000 in salary to make a lineup. So that is what we're going to be doing. A tool that I'm going to be using to give you the best possible advice is I'm going to give you what I call my core 4, as you can see right over here. And the core 4 is going to consist of 4 players that we are going to use in literally 100% of my lineups. Now, whether those lineups be 10 lineups, 20 lineups, 50 lineups, doesn't matter. They're going to be in literally 100% of my lineups. Logic being, if our analysis, our research on these 4 players is correct, you're going to be putting yourself in a very profitable scenario. Now, before I get started with my core 4, I do have a brand new thing that we will be using here for the show. It is called our question of the week. And our week 1 question is, what wide receiver recorded 8 catches for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns week 1 of 2019 and 5 catches for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1 of 2018, both with 2 different teams? If you first person to answer this correctly in the comment section wins a $1 DraftKings ticket, and you can use that for any football lineup you want. You can use it for any lineup you want, for all I care. Any money you make, I will literally reach in my pocket and give it to you. If you, again, first comment that gets this correct wins that $1 ticket. So again, we got our core 4 here, and there is something I do want to go over. Week 1, historically, a lot of people were asking me, AC, are you going to really be investing in DraftKings this year? It could be a really tricky season. I said absolutely, for several reasons. One, I think we're going to have so much information to be giving on players. We're going to have so many injuries. We're going to have so many prices that we're going to be able to take advantage in our lineups. And week 1, especially historically for me, has been a very, very profitable week. Reason being is DraftKings, for whatever reason, they release their salaries about mid-July is when they release their salaries. So they don't take into account injuries, players that were released, players that were traded, backups that are now starters, elite receivers that are now injured and their backups come in. There's a lot of scenarios that kind of change, and DraftKings doesn't change their prices. So you're going to notice some prices in here that seem outstanding, and it's why we're going to be using them in our core 4 and in our other lineups as well. Also, a common theme that you're going to be seeing each and every week is we're going to be picking on the same defenses each and every week. These defenses include Atlanta, Miami Dolphins, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, the Detroit Lions. There's going to be defenses that we pick on every single week. We're almost going to ignore the name and focus only on the team, the matchup, because that is how you beat it, and you'll notice some trends early on. Let's get rolling right away. Here's our core 4, starting it off right away. Now, this is going to come to a surprise to a lot of people, but I got Lamar Jackson here, former NFL MVP, right over here with his game against the Cleveland Browns. They're at home in Baltimore, $8,100 top price for a quarterback. Now, for those who know me, I usually advocate to not spend a lot of money at quarterback. I made a ton of money last year off of Ryan Fitzpatrick and Ryan Tannehill for the bottom price. I love that. Week one, I'm going with the sure thing. I know what I want. I know what Lamar Jackson's going to give me, especially week one. This is a guy that thrives on enthusiasm. I love what he's going to bring to the table. It's a division matchup against the Browns. Last year, he really showcased week one as well. So I know what I'm going to get with Lamar Jackson. The floor is very high, obviously, both with his rushing ability and his air attack. And the ceiling's there. I mean, this guy has 40-point potential. He really does. So I like him at 8,100 right there. I think it is worth the high price. After that, I got Antonio Gibson. Again, great example of what I was talking about earlier. A guy that is $4,000, the absolute bottom price for any running back in DraftKings right now. And this is a guy who is in his position because they released Adrian Peterson. Darius Geis was released. And both of those guys were in the DraftKings salary. Adrian Peterson, Darius Geis. Would Antonio Gibson be $4,000 if DraftKings knew this was going to happen? Of course not. So this is clearly a scenario you want to take advantage of. Yes, he'll be highly owned. I'm totally okay with that. But my logic is go with the chalk, the most popular player choice. Go with the chalk if it's cheap. If it's cheap, it's okay to go with the chalk, in my opinion. So I'm going Antonio Gibson here. 3 down back here. He has virtually no competition. Not expecting anything out of Bryce Love, at least not in week one. So I'm liking him for $4,000. After that is one of my most favorite daily fantasy players right here, Captain Jack Doyle, 3,700, Indianapolis Colts versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if you look at the tight end list of all the tight ends under DraftKings right now, for whatever reason, he is at like the bottom of all the startable tight ends. It looks like Trey Burton's not even going to play, the backup tight end with the Indianapolis Colts. So his only competition looks like it to be Mo Alley-Cox. Eric Ebron now with the Steelers, no longer a factor. So I like in Jack Doyle. Also, another very important part of this, Indianapolis is probably going to roll over the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's what we're expecting. I think there is going to be a lot of running. But I don't think this is a game that Philip Rivers is exactly going to have to showcase his arm. Not that he even really has the ability anymore. I think once they get in the red zone, he's going to do what he's been doing for his entire career. Get the easy passes to the tight end in the red zone. So again, I'm liking Jack Doyle here. I don't think it's going to take a lot for him to get 12 points. And that's kind of what we're looking for, folks. You'll notice me use the term return on investment. Return on investment in daily means getting a 3 to 4 times point value based on their salary. So Antonio Gibson, for example, is $4,000. If he gets you between 12 and 15 points, you're in that sweet spot. You're getting what you wanted. Anything more than that is great. If he's getting a 6, 7, 8 times return, that is straight money. That's exactly what we are looking for. So again, Lamar, Antonio, Jack Doyle are the 3, and then we're going to round it out with probably my favorite play of the week right here, Deshaun Jackson, Philadelphia Eagle. We talked about it earlier with Antonio Gibson. Would his price be $4,900 if DraftKings knew Alshon Jeffries and Jalen Reagor were not going to play? Probably not. They probably wouldn't price him at that. He is literally the last man standing when it comes to the Eagles. Also, Deshaun Jackson historically has been known to ball out week one. So I like Deshaun Jackson here. The Redskins are significantly better defensively. Adding Chase Young is going to absolutely dramatically improve their ability on defense. That being said, I think their secondary is still a weakness, and I think Deshaun Jackson has monstrous game potential. I mean, at the very minimum, he's going to get targets, and I really like his scenario, and his price is even better. So if you add up all these salaries right here, we're looking at $20,700. We start with $50,000. Say if we get a $3,000 defense, where we have over $25,000 of salary to fill 4 spots. We're in a very, very good position to fill our lineup with some absolute studs if we're using these 4 guys in every single one of our lineups. And again, that's kind of what I'm going back to. We're investing, as you see, $20,700. If these 4 guys can combine for between 60, 65 points, we're exactly where we need to be. And we can get some big boys in there. And you'll notice them earlier, we'll have some big names in here, big salaries. If we can get between 60 and 70 points, 60, 65, maybe 70 points, we're in a very tremendous good spot. I'm liking this a lot. So again, that's the salary it's going to take for these 4 players. There are some running backs I also like quite a lot this week. Christian McCaffrey, I mean, not much analysis needed right here. The guy's a monster. He's facing the Raiders. Carolina is going to be historically bad on defense right here. Of course, he has that $10,000 price tag. It's a lot. You pay 10,000. I fully expect you to get 30, 40, maybe even 50 points out of CMC right here versus the Raiders. Dalvin Cook right underneath that. Again, you really want to try to get at least one big boy running back in every single one of your lineups. I like Dalvin Cook. He catches passes. He's the goal line back. While he is healthy, he is the man in Minnesota at $7,900. Underneath that might be my favorite play of the week. Almost made the core four, but I couldn't put him in above there. Gibson, let's just say it's my core five, I guess. Josh Jacobs versus Carolina. Carolina was just an absolute mess when it came to defending the rush last year. So I love Josh Jacobs, $6,800. He could be and should be more than that. I love Josh Jacobs in my lineups. Underneath that, I got Todd Gurley against Seattle. Not liking the receiver because against Seattle, their secondary is pretty elite. But while Todd Gurley is healthy, I'm loving Todd Gurley, 6,100. We know what the guy can do. He is returning back home to Atlanta. So I like Todd Gurley while he is healthy. Weeks 1 and 2, we're going to probably use some Todd Gurley. Week 8, 9, 10, probably not so much. You know, those knees have seen better days. Rounding it out for the running backs, we got Chris Thompson and James Robinson. Now, I will start by saying this. I think James Robinson will get the starts, but I think it's going to be mostly Chris Thompson throughout this game. I threw in James Robinson there because I know a lot of people are going to say, whoa, well, James Robinson's is a starter. He's 4K. That is right. Game script is not in their favor whatsoever. I think Indy is just going to absolutely destroy them, and I think that favors Chris Thompson, especially in a PPR setup that is DraftKings, getting a point for every catch that they make. So again, I like Chris Thompson here. I think that makes more sense. That being said, touchdown upside probably does go to James Robinson. I think both plays are good. I have Chris Thompson slightly a bit above him for that 4K price range. Other receivers we're using, I got Michael Thomas here against Tampa. I think this is going to be a good game to attack. The problem is the price is very, very high to attack both the Saints receivers and the Bucs receivers. So I have Michael Thomas in here. Again, the guy is the most consistent thing there is in fantasy right now next to CMC, and that's why he's got the big boy 9K price tag right here. So I like Mike Thomas. If you want to go cheap at running back, Chris Thompson, Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs, and you want to go Michael Thomas, that might make sense. I would highly recommend pairing him up with Chris Godwin. Now, I put an asterisk next to Chris Godwin because Mike Evans, as you can see right here, decent chance he's not going to suit up. Looks like it's 50-50 here. So again, I have right here, if Mike Evans does not play, I don't know how you don't throw Chris Godwin in your lineups. These are two quarterbacks, Drew Brees and Tom Brady, that are two of the best quarterbacks of all time, obviously. And what they are better at than anyone else in the game is they know how to get first downs. And that's all Michael Thomas and Godwin do, is they catch balls and they get first down. They move the sticks. That's how you win football. And Brady's going to quickly realize Godwin is going to be his most consistent thing when it comes to the receiving core, especially if Mike Evans does not play. So again, Mike Evans does not play. Chris Godwin, I think, is the guy. I did not have this guy on my list, but I think the backup to Mike Evans is actually going to be Justin Watson. He is 3,800. I don't have him on my list right here, but I like him a lot as a very cheap play. Justin Watson for the Bucs. I think you can plug and play him if you need a guy. Underneath that, we got DJ Moore versus the Raiders. Again, kind of going with that Raiders Panthers game script right here. If you don't use CMC and you wanted to use DJ Moore, I think that makes sense. $6,600 for one of the most highly targeted receivers in the NFL, I think absolutely makes sense. Underneath that is literally the third most targeted receiver in football last year on an awful Bears team, the Allen Robinson versus the Detroit Lions are here, 6,500. Maybe my favorite game stack of the week is using Detroit versus the Bears here. So again, Allen Robinson pairing up with Kenny Balladay and Marvin Jones Jr. I think it's going to be a very smart stack. I'll talk more about those Lions receivers in just 1 second. I got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf both here facing Atlanta. Tyler Lockett about $700 more for 6,500 versus DK's 58. I think they're both in play right here. Tyler Lockett seemed to catch a touchdown like every other week last year, so I really do like Tyler Lockett against Atlanta. Atlanta's going to be a team we pick on now. We're on the Detroit receivers right here, Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. I put an asterisk next to Kenny Golladay. If Kenny Golladay does not play, much like if Mike Evans does not play, I don't know how you fade Marvin Jones Jr. here. I think if best case scenario from a daily point of view, if Mike Evans and Kenny Golladay do not play, I think Godwin and Marvin Jones Jr. must be in your lineups. I just don't see a way around it. I really don't. It seems too good to be true. Chicago defensively is not what they used to be. People always go, oh, they're facing the Bears. Bears aren't what they used to be defensively, folks. It's kind of a myth. So I like Detroit a lot. Also, I think Detroit defensively is very, very weak. They just got rid of their best defensive players. So I like this game a lot. This is a game I am attacking a lot in my stacks. Underneath that, I got Hollywood Brown 5,100. Like this play, don't love it. His floor is 2 catches. I mean, it could be that bad, but his ceiling is also very high. The guy has incredible speed, and I'm sure the connection between him and Lamar is only going to get better. Second-year receivers tend to kind of take that next step. So this could be a great game for Hollywood Brown. I got a few shares, not a lot, but 5,100 with the Lamar stack to me makes sense. Underneath this, we got N'Keal Harry versus Miami. Again, Miami is going to be a team we're going to pick on every single week. A lot of people aren't expecting much out of N'Keal Harry. I kind of have an opposite point of view. I think Edelman was the perfect complement for Brady's skill set. I think N'Keal Harry is the perfect complement for Cam Newton's skill sets. Cam Newton does something that Brady simply can't do, and that's extend the play. And when you extend the play, your X receiver, which is N'Keal Harry, is their team's X receiver, gives him an opportunity to kind of make a play, get downfield, and I think that's only going to help N'Keal Harry. In addition to, N'Keal Harry kind of fits the mold of Cam Newton's, previous receivers, Kelvin Benjamin, DJ Moore, receivers like that. So I think N'Keal Harry is going to be way more utilized for Cam Newton than Edelman will be, at least to people's perception, to start the season. So again, 4,400 against a defense we'd love to pick on. The equation makes sense. I like N'Keal Harry for 4,400. I got all 3 Raiders receivers under that: Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, and Bryan Edwards between the 5,100 and 4,100 range. I have them ranked just as exactly as you see. I got Ruggs above Hunter, and I have Hunter above Edwards. Edwards, I think, is a little bit of a gamble. The second rookie receiver that's going to be starting this game. I think Hunter is the safest play, and then I got Ruggs kind of have as the higher floor right over here. But again, I like all 3 of these receivers. I wouldn't use multiple receivers in the game, but if you want to go CMC and Ruggs, CMC and Hunter Renfrow, I do like that combination quite a lot. Underneath there, you'll see if I said watch the Deebo Samuel situation. Looks like he's going to play, but again, you just don't know. So keep an eye on that. You really make your money in daily fantasy on Sunday between 10:30 and kickoff. That is when you make the most money, all those last-minute inactives. So you really taking advantage of that. If Deebo does not play, Kendrick Bourne and Dante Pettis are going to be the guys I want. Let's look at our tight ends, and we're talking about right after Deebo, we go George Kittle, $7,200. I mean, we're attacking Arizona. If Deebo doesn't play again, this feels like an automatic for me. George Kittle against Arizona. Arizona just every single year. I've never seen a team that has a trend quite like Arizona does when it comes to tight ends. So I like George Kittle a lot for 7,200. Big price tag. Underneath that, have my favorite game stack of the week, Lamar Jackson with Mark Andrews versus the Browns. 6K price tag, very high. But again, I like Mark Andrews while he is healthy. I like him to start the season hot. Underneath that, we got Hayden Hurst versus Seattle. Didn't like the Atlanta receivers week 1, but I like the Atlanta tight end right here. Again, Austin Hooper, we know what he can do with Matt Ryan. Hayden Hurst is going to slip right in and I believe make an impact right away. So these are the 3 tight ends I'm using in addition to Jack Doyle. You can use multiple tight ends in the same lineup, folks. You can do it. I think it's sometimes in your advantage to do it. DSCs I'm using, this is a very tricky position each and every week. I like to be very aggressive with DSCs. I like using the same one across the board. So if I hit, I'm hitting everywhere. But again, I kind of have a rule with DSCs. If I pay top dollar for a DSC, in my eyes, $3,000 or more, I want something that's automatic. Otherwise, I'm going with the cheapest defense that I see that I think has the best of all the worst matchups. So we'll start right over here. We got the Patriots and the Ravens and the Colts, $3,000 or more, all against teams we want to pick on. Patriots versus Miami. Bill Belichick has had 2 months to prepare with Cam Newton versus the Dolphins. Like the chances there in New England. Ravens versus Cleveland again. We could totally be seeing the mean mug in the end zone. Pick six, Baker trying to come back and Ravens picking them off. I could see that as well. And the Ravens did significantly get better defensively as well. Then the Colts versus the Jaguars. I mean, the Jaguars are trying to lose. Gordon Minshew is just awful. So I think the Colts, who also got better defensively, I like them for 3K. And at the bottom, I got Washington versus Philly here, 2K right here. Again, they are the actual bottom price defense. I don't think they should be. Chase Young is only making that team better. Their secondary is not that great. But again, having a 2K price range is going to allow you to get some of these monsters in here. So if you have CMC and Michael Thomas in the same lineup, I think you can pull it off. If you have Washington defense, I think it's something you can pull off. So mess around with those lineups and see what you can do. Those are the other positions that I'm going to be using. One other thing we're going to be doing every week, folks, is we're going to answer a fan question. Someone that wrote something in the comments the night before or during the week. Here was our question from my friend Corey Trainer. AC, can you talk about which type of contests you like to play in? It's almost as important as roster creation as bankroll management contest selection. I couldn't agree with you more about the bankroll management comment. People always ask me, what do you recommend I invest every single week? Whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with $50 per week, that's great. If you're comfortable with more than that and you start rolling, you start doing great, I would start doing $100 if that's something you can afford. Again, it's COVID-19 times. I know money's tight. Invest what you're comfortable with. Now, in regards to what type of contests I like to play, whether it be tournaments versus cash games, I personally notice that my cash game lineups tend to usually cash in tournaments as well. So I kind of geared more towards tournaments and having multiple entries in the same lineup and multiple entries in these tournaments. So, for example, I love attacking the early only slate, which is the 1 p.m. games only. There's a $2 contest. I know, not a lot of money, but there's a $2 contest. You can put in 20 different lineups. I put in 10 different lineups, but with doubles of each lineup. So if I hit on one of them, really hitting twice. So if I get third place in this contest, I'm really getting third and fourth money place. So I'm kind of double hitting there. So yeah, I do tend to focus on tournaments. I put my safety lineups sometimes in my tournament lineups. And it's been working out for me because the weeks you're right, you're really making a big bang for your buck rather than just doubling your money. So what type of contest do I play? I like attacking the early only contest. I like playing tournaments that have like 3,000 players or less. I don't like doing the millionaire. I think that's just wasting your money. And I think if you do cash games, which, your goal is to simply double your money, I would do 50-50s versus double up. And I would absolutely recommend doing single entry tournaments, especially for those 50-50s and, those double ups, folks. That's what I recommend. Good question, Corey. Again, if you have a question for next week, please write that in the comments. Don't forget about our question of the week, folks. What wide receiver recorded 8 catches for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns week 1 of 2019 and 5 catches for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1 of 2018, both with 2 different teams. I'll give you a hint. He plays for a 3rd different team now. So he's had 3 different teams over the past 3 years. First person to write that correctly in the comments will win a $1 DraftKings ticket. Folks, week 1 in the books. I love it. I'm pumped to be back. We're going to try to put these out every single Friday if we can, whether it be Friday night, Friday during the day. We shall see. Most importantly, folks, make sure you are betting and gambling responsibly when it comes to DraftKings. Money is made on Sunday between 10:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Sunday. That is when you get all your info on the inactives. Watch Kenny Golladay, watch Mike Evans, watch Deebo Samuel, see what is happening with these guys. Very important that you take, be aware of this scenario. Again, folks, if you notice, there's other games we have not mentioned. We are only focusing on the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. games each and every week here on Fantasy Life with AC when it regards to DraftKings lineups. So again, if we're not talking about Sunday Night Football, we're not talking about Monday Night Football, obviously we're not talking about Thursday Night Football. We're only focusing on the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. games. That's going to do it for me, folks. Good luck on the fantasy gridiron. I hope you had a lot of fun today. Love being back. I can't lie. Love being back. So until then, folks, deuces. Good luck on the AC Gridiron. Take care, y'all.